Okay, let's dive in. We're pretty used to thinking about global power and, economic growth in terms of big physical stuff like
Right.
roads, pipelines, ports, that kind of thing. For decades, that was really the main game, wasn't it? Global development, diplomacy, it all revolved around that.
Yeah, the old game, as you put it. Concrete and steel.
Exactly. But what if the real revolution, the place where just unimaginable wealth could be created, is, well, digital,
Yeah.
invisible almost, and it's already there, just sort of locked away?
That's precisely the idea we need to get our heads around today.
Yeah.
We're digging into two massive connected shifts based on the sources you've pulled together.
Okay.
First, this frankly stunning idea there's maybe $50 trillion waiting to be unlocked in the global south. Just
Yeah.
sitting there.
Yeah.
And the key is something called GovTech.
50 trillion. Wow. Okay. And the second shift.
The second is this backdrop of technology convergence. We're talking AI, blockchain, biotech, all hitting their stride at the same time. And this changes everything about innovation. Suddenly, thinking really big, like civilization scale big, isn't just ambitious, it's maybe the smartest bet.
So our deep dive today is really about understanding this new playbook, right? It's about digital sovereignty. The idea isn't waiting for handouts or getting tangled in debt diplomacy, whether the money's coming from, Beijing or DC.
Exactly. It's about flipping the script. Instead of building things for countries which can create dependency, it's about building digital capabilities within countries, unleashing wealth that's already there, just informal.
That's a huge shift.
Yeah.
So let's start with that first unlock, the $50 trillion one. How does GovTech make that happen?
Well, let's set the scene first, because it helps understand why this is such a big deal now. For the past decade or so, a lot of the global development talk has been dominated by China's Belt and Road Initiative, the BRI.
Right, the massive infrastructure projects everywhere. Roads, ports, railways across Asia, Africa, Latin America.
Exactly. Huge, tangible, physical stuff. And the West, the US, the EU, they've mostly responded by trying to offer alternatives. Their own, usually smaller, infrastructure deals, different loan terms maybe.
Kind of like an infrastructure competition.
Pretty much.
Oh, yeah.
But the sources we're looking at argue that fundamentally, both sides are still playing that old game, focusing on these massive, centralized physical projects that need enormous loans. And often that leads to debt issues for the countries involved. It's all about outside money coming in to build fixed assets.
Okay, so that's the old way. Where does GovTech come in as the alternative? What is GovTech-powered land digitization? It sounds like more than just, scanning old paper deeds.
Oh, much more. That's a really key point. It's not just digitizing records. It's like re-engineering a country's whole system for property rights. GovTech here means using technology to very precisely map, record, and legally register who owns what piece of land. Every single plot. Urban, rural, doesn't matter.
And how do you actually do that securely and, I guess, quickly? What tech is involved?
It's really a combination of existing technologies used in a smart way. First, you need good, high-resolution satellite mapping. This lets you define boundaries accurately, often better than old local surveys.
Right, gets around potential disputes or inaccuracies on the ground.
Exactly. Second, you tie those map boundaries to a secure digital registry. Think of it like a digital ledger, maybe even using blockchain ideas for security, so the records are hard to tamper with.
Okay, immutable records.
And third, and this is absolutely crucial, you link that digital title to a national digital ID system, like India's Aadhaar or Estonia's system. This makes sure the ownership record is tied to a real, verified person or company.
So the digital ID is the linchpin that makes it usable, bankable.
Precisely. Because that connection tackles the core problem. The economist Hernando de Soto identified years ago the problem of dead capital.
Let's unpack that because $50 trillion is, that's an almost unbelievable number. Where does it come from?
It is huge. De Soto's insight was that in most of the developing world, the vast majority of assets, especially land, are held informally. People live there, farm there, build businesses, maybe for generations.
But they don't have the official piece of paper that a bank or a court recognizes.
Exactly that. They lack the formal legal title deed. So even if you have a valuable piece of land, you can't use it as collateral for a loan. You can't easily sell it in the formal market. De Soto estimated the value of all this untapped informal wealth, this dead capital, at around $50 trillion globally. It's real wealth, but it's locked out of the modern financial system.
So it just sits there. A farmer can't get a loan for a tractor. A shopkeeper can't expand their business using their property as collateral.
That's the tragedy. It traps entire economies in low gear. But the moment you use GovTech to digitize, formalize, and legally recognize that ownership, boom, that land transforms into bankable collateral.
And the money doesn't have to come from outside.
Not initially, no. This unlocks local capital. Local people can now borrow from local banks using their newly formalized land as security. That money gets invested locally, hires local people, buys local goods. It kickstarts the credit market from the bottom up. It massively increases what economists call the velocity of money.
Okay, that completely changes the power dynamic compared to something like the BRI, where it's always about external creditors. But if it's this powerful and the tech is there, why hasn't everyone done it already? What's the bottleneck?
That's the million-dollar or maybe trillion-dollar question, the tech itself. Relatively cheap, relatively fast. You can map a country with satellites pretty quickly these days, months, not decades. The real hurdle is often political will, and sometimes outright resistance.
Resistance from who?
Think about it. Land is often the main source of wealth and power for established elites, especially in places with weak rule of law. Formalizing land rights for everyone, transparently, digitally, that directly challenges their power.
Because it makes land grabs much harder if ownership is clear and digitally recorded.
Exactly. Opaque, paper-based systems are fertile ground for corruption. Bureaucrats might benefit from the complexity. Digitization, especially with blockchain-like security, threatens that whole system of patronage and rent-seeking. So, implementing this kind of GovTech needs a government that's genuinely committed to reform, willing to push back against vested interests. It takes political courage.
Okay, makes sense. It's not just a tech problem. But assuming a country does push through, what are the other benefits? You mentioned collateral, but what else happens? The multiplier effects?
Oh, they're huge. Systemic, really.
Yeah.
Beyond just credit for farmers and small businesses, you suddenly get way better tax collection.
Property taxes.
Right. If you know exactly who owns what land and what it's worth, you can actually collect property taxes fairly and efficiently.
Money can then fund local services, schools, healthcare, police directly, without relying entirely on the central government or aid money. It builds local accountability.
Local funding, local projects, real sovereignty. It is. And then there's foreign investment. Investors feel much more secure putting money into a country where land rights are clear, legally enforceable, and transparent. It lowers the risk and cost of doing business.
Any examples of countries really pushing this?
The sources point to places like India, which has made huge strides with its digital ID system, Aadhaar, and linking that to efforts modernizing land records. Rwanda is another often cited example, really prioritizing digital transformation across the board. And then you have Estonia, which is sort of the gold standard. Almost everything is digital, secure, seamless, land, voting, taxes.
So GovTech isn't just competing with the BRI on infrastructure, it's offering a completely different path, one based on internal capacity and sovereignty.
That's the core argument.
Yeah.
Building capability within, not just assets for.
Okay, so that's the GovTech piece, transforming nations from the sort of foundational level up. But we need to zoom out now and look at the bigger picture, this technological acceleration that's happening. The sources argue there's a fundamental difference between the internet era and now the AI era. AI as a multiplier of intelligence. What does that mean exactly?
It's a crucial distinction. The internet basically connected information, made it accessible globally. AI does something different. It amplifies our ability to use that information, to reason, to analyze, to create new insights, new solutions at a speed and scale we've just never seen before.
So if the internet built the library, AI is like having millions of super smart researchers working in it simultaneously.
That's a pretty good analogy, yeah. Reading everything, connecting dots across different fields, even generating new knowledge. And importantly, this isn't just about AI on its own. We're in what the sources call a technological supercollision.
Supercollision, meaning?
Meaning we have maybe 10 or more foundational technologies all hitting exponential growth curves at the same time. AI is the big one, but think quantum computing, synthetic biology, advanced materials, blockchain and decentralization, new energy tech, space tech. They're all accelerating together.
And they feed off each other.
Exactly. The real breakthroughs, the really unpredictable stuff, will come from the convergence between these fields. AI designing new molecules for symbio, quantum optimizing blockchain security, that kind of thing. Innovation isn't just happening within silos anymore, it's happening at the intersections.
Okay, so faster intelligence with AI, plus this convergence. How does that change the game for, say, startups or businesses? The sources suggest it shifts the focus from, can we build it, to, is it ambitious enough?
Absolutely. Look at how easy it's becoming to build complex softwares. Low-code, no-code platforms, now supercharged by AI that can literally write code from plain English prompts. The barrier to actually building things is collapsing.
Coding has become English. That's a powerful phrase from the source material.
It really captures the shift. If building almost anything becomes relatively easy and cheap, then the limiting factor isn't technical feasibility anymore. It's imagination, it's ambition. The critical question becomes, is this idea big enough to actually matter?
And this leads to the argument that the safest bet now is actually the boldest one, tackling huge civilization-scale problems.
That's the provocative idea, yes. Climate change, pandemics, energy transition, maybe even things like global poverty or access to education. The argument is that if you leverage these converging exponential technologies to go after those massive fundamental challenges, you're actually making a more rational long-term bet.
More rational than, say, building another social media app. How does that work?
Well, think about the traditional startup goal. The unicorn, rapid growth, billion-dollar valuation, often focused on consumer markets, maybe aiming for a quick acquisition or IPO.
Right.
The sources contrast this with an emerging model they call the elephant. Elephants prioritize purpose, community, long-term sustainable impact. They're built to tackle these deep, systemic, global problems.
Okay, but does purpose really pay the bills? Investors want returns. Is the elephant just a nice story?
It's a fair question. But the argument is, if your company's mission is, say, scalable carbon capture or ensuring clean water access globally, your potential market is, well, the entire planet. The need for your solution is fundamental and enduring.
So the scale of the problem provides a kind of built-in demand and maybe even a protective moat.
Precisely. Your mission itself becomes a strategic advantage. It attracts talent, potentially aligns with government priorities, and addresses a need that isn't going away. The path to a trillion-dollar valuation might actually be more stable for an elephant solving a core human need than for a unicorn chasing the latest trend. It's about building foundational utilities for the 21st century, not just temporary distractions.
Interesting. So deep tech for deep problems. But the sources also stress it's not just about tech, it's about interdisciplinary integration, bringing in ethics, humanities, sociology, even geography.
Yes, because technology alone doesn't solve human problems. You need context. You need to understand history, culture, politics, ethics. The real bottleneck now isn't computing power. It's integrating different fields of knowledge. We need technologists who understand philosophy and policymakers who understand AI.
The Rwanda example with zipline drones really highlights this, right?
Suit.
The geography point.
It's a brilliant example. Rwanda has challenging geography and historically underdeveloped road infrastructure. That sounds like a weakness.
Yeah, makes delivering things like medical supplies hard.
Exactly. But for a company like Zipline, using delivery drones, that weakness became an advantage. They didn't need perfect roads. They could use drones to leapfrog the entire physical infrastructure problem and deliver blood, vaccines, medicine directly to remote clinics in minutes.
So the tech solution was perfectly adapted to the specific geographical and developmental context. It wasn't just tech for tech's sake.
Precisely. It shows how innovation has to respect place and purpose. And this idea of context and responsibility becomes even more critical when we talk about the most powerful technologies, especially AGI, artificial general intelligence.
Right, the potential godlike AI that people like Musk, Altman, Hassabis are warning about. That raises huge safety and ethical questions.
Massive ones.
Yeah.
The sources argue that AI safety can't just be a corporate checklist item. It requires basically enlightened geopolitical cooperation. Meaning the big players, like the US and China, despite all their tensions, need to find common ground on ensuring AGI is developed safely. The risks are potentially existential for everyone, so it transcends typical national rivalries or trade disputes.
Yeah.
It requires a level of, dare I say, spiritual diplomacy, focusing on shared human survival and values.
So the ethics and the global cooperation aren't just nice to have, they're fundamental prerequisites for navigating this next technological wave safely.
Absolutely paramount. Companies building these powerful tools, OpenAI, SpaceX, whoever comes next, have an immense responsibility. It's part of that elephant idea again. You can't just build world-changing tech. You have to do it responsibly with a deep sense of stewardship.
Okay, let's zoom back in now to a really specific, a powerful intersection. AI meets crypto and blockchain. This seems like where a lot of near-term action is happening. Combining AI's intelligence with blockchains. What? Trust? Security?
All of the above. AI brings the processing power, the pattern recognition, the predictive capability, the intelligence. Blockchain brings the secure, transparent, often decentralized way of recording things and executing agreements, the trust layer.
And when you put them together?
You get systems that can potentially operate autonomously, make intelligent decisions, and have those decisions and their outcomes verified trustlessly on a ledger. It tackles fundamental problems of coordination and trust at scale. And the sources lay out some really concrete examples, breaking it down by function.
Right. Let's start with financial services and trading. Intelligent finance. This seems like a natural fit for AI's speed in DeFi, decentralized finance.
Definitely. One concept highlighted is auto DeFi. Think of it not just as a robo-advisor, but as an AI using reinforcement learning, like how AI learns to play complex games to actively manage assets across various DeFi protocols.
So it learns by doing, finding the best yield farming or lending strategies.
Exactly. It gets rewarded for good returns, penalized for excessive risk, and constantly optimizes its strategy. And crucially, its performance and actions could potentially be verified on-chain. Another one is NeuroTrader.
NeuroTrader. Sounds sci-fi.
Kind of. It uses neural networks like AI brains to analyze tons of data, market prices, social media sentiment, on-chain transaction patterns, news feeds, you name it. It crunches all that down into maybe a single predictive score, a neuroscore, to guide trading decisions.
So it's trying to predict market moves based on everything.
That's the idea. And this could power automated trading bots, maybe called BotDX, that operate directly on decentralized exchanges with their track record potentially verifiable on the blockchain. It could democratize very sophisticated trading strategies.
What about risk? DeFi is notoriously risky. Hacks, exploits.
Right, so the Convergence also tackles risk management. Concepts like algo insure, imagine AI systems that analyze smart contracts, audit reports, and real-time network activity to automatically underwrite and price insurance for DeFi protocols.
So AI calculates the risk of a specific protocol getting hacked.
Yeah, and potentially even automates the payout process via smart contracts if an exploit actually happens. It aims to make insurance faster, more transparent, and less reliant on traditional centralized insurers. Another related idea is Volgard, using machine learning to forecast crypto volatility for options traders.
Okay, fascinating. Let's move to the next category. Data, compute, and model infrastructure. This is about the supply chain for AI, right? AI needs data and massive computing power. How does blockchain help there?
This is huge, because right now, AI development relies heavily on just a few big cloud providers: Amazon, Google, Microsoft. Decentralization offers an alternative. Concepts like neural credits or compute barter envision platforms where anyone can rent out their unused computer processing power, GPUs, CPUs, for AI training.
Like a global, decentralized supercomputer.
Sort of, yeah. People get paid in tokens for contributing their compute power. It can make AI training much cheaper and more accessible, breaking the reliance on the big hyperscalers.
Okay, that covers the compute power. What about the AI models themselves and the data they're trained on? IP rights, quality control.
That's where blockchain's ability to track provenance and manage ownership comes in. You could have something like Model Chain, a marketplace where AI models are tokenized, maybe as NFTs.
So you could buy, sell, or license AI models with the rules enforced by smart contracts.
Exactly. Creators get royalties automatically when their model is used. Similarly, open weights could use NFTs to license the specific weights, the learned parameters inside a trained AI model, ensuring attribution.
But AI is garbage in, garbage out, right? What about data quality and bias? That's a huge issue.
A critical issue. So you see ideas like day-to-day I/O. Imagine a decentralized autonomous organization where people collaborate globally to source, clean, label, and verify data sets for AI training. They'd earn tokens for their work.
Crowdsourcing high-quality data.
Kind of, but with crypto incentives and verification. And then, to track what data went into a model, you have concepts like TrustML or model nutrition. These use blockchain to create an immutable record of a model's history.
A nutrition label for AI. I like that. What would it show?
It could detail the data sets used for training, flag potential biases discovered during testing, show performance metrics across different groups, list the developers, basically providing transparency about how the AI was built and what its limitations might be. Hugely important for ethics and trust, especially in sensitive areas like healthcare or finance.
Definitely. Okay, final category. Security, identity, and governance. Using AI and blockchain to build more secure and manageable systems, both for users and for decentralized organizations like DAOs.
Right. On the security front, think of AI as an automated watchdog. Chain Sentinel could be an AI system constantly monitoring blockchain activity, looking for suspicious patterns, potential hacks, scams, rug pulls, analyzing transactions, developer activity, even social media buzz.
And if it spots something?
Then something like Defense AI could kick in, an autonomous security system. Based on pre-agreed rules, it could automatically trigger defensive actions, pausing a smart contract, freezing funds, alerting users potentially much faster than a human security team could react.
Autonomous defense. Wow. Okay, what about identity? We need KYSML and finance, but people want privacy in crypto. How does this convergence square that circle?
This is where some really clever cryptography comes in, combined with AI. Secure sign is a concept using AI for the verification part, but then using zero-knowledge proofs, ZKPs, to handle the privacy.
Okay, zero-knowledge proofs. Remind us quickly what those are.
In simple terms, ZKPs let you prove something is true without revealing the underlying information that makes it true. So, Secure Sign could verify that your identity documents are legitimate and you meet certain criteria, like being over 18, not on a watch list.
But it doesn't reveal my actual name or document details to the service I'm interacting with.
Exactly. The service just gets a cryptographic proof.
Yeah.
Yes, this user is verified according to Rule X. Your actual data stays private. This verified status might be represented by a non-transferable token in your wallet. It's a potential way to get compliance and privacy.
That's a breakthrough if it works at scale. And how does AI help build reputation in this pseudonymous world?
By analyzing on-chain behavior. RepoScore could be an AI that generates a reputation score for a wallet address based on its history. Did it repay loans? Did it vote responsibly in DAOs? Did it engage in scammy behavior?
So your actions build a verifiable track record.
Right. And the score isn't just a number. It could unlock benefits, like better loan terms or more voting power. You might even have repeat NFTs, whose appearance or utility changes based on your rising or falling repo score. Your reputation becomes a dynamic, visible digital asset.
Fascinating. And this leads into governance, especially for DAOs, which can be chaotic.
Very chaotic. AI could be a huge help. GovMind is imagined as an AI assistant for DAO members. It could read through long, complex governance proposals, summarize the key points, identify potential conflicts of interest, maybe even pull in relevant data to help people make informed decisions.
Basically making it easier for people to actually participate meaningfully.
Yes, lowering the barrier to entry for informed participation. And then take it a step further with Decide AI. This would be like a simulation engine for governance proposals.
It's like SimCity for DAOs.
Huh. Sort of. Before voting on a major change, like changing the fee structure or allocating treasury funds, the DAO could use Decide AI to model the likely economic and social impacts, see how it might play out under different scenarios. It adds a layer of predictive intelligence to decision-making.
So AI intelligence, blockchain trust, woven together across finance, infrastructure, security, identity, governance. It's a lot.
It is. It's potentially a new kind of digital infrastructure, more intelligent, more automated, more transparent, and hopefully more trustworthy than many of the systems we rely on today. It's about solving those age-old problems of trust and coordination using these powerful new tools. #tag outro.
Okay, so we've journeyed through quite a bit today. We started with that massive $50 trillion potential unlock in the global south, driven by GovTech and digital land rights, basically giving people sovereignty over their own assets.
Right, unlocking local capital, building from the ground up.
And then we zoomed out to this incredible convergence of exponential technologies, AI, blockchain, and others, that's making it possible, maybe even necessary, to tackle huge civilization-scale challenges.
The shift towards thinking bigger, the elephant model.
So the big takeaway here seems to be that the path forward, the real value creation, lies at the intersection. It's about applying AI's intelligence and blockchain's trust layer to these really fundamental problems like securing property rights or making sophisticated financial tools accessible to everyone.
Exactly. It's not just about tech for tech's sake. It's about connecting these powerful tools to deep human needs. And that means, as the sources suggest, expertise in the future isn't just about coding or finance in isolation. It's about being a bridge builder.
Someone who understands the tech, yes, but also the ethics, the sociology, the history, the why, connecting the dots between different fields.
You need that integrated thinking. Because building world-changing technology, especially at the speed we're seeing now, carries immense responsibility. It demands that elephant mindset balancing innovation with a strong moral compass, recognizing that things like AI safety require global cooperation, not just national competition. We have to build fast, but we also have to build with wisdom.
Which brings us to a final thought, something for you, the listener, to chew on. We talked about GovTech transforming nations from the top down, creating these digitized sovereign structures, maybe starting with land records in places like India or Rwanda.
Establishing that foundational layer of digital trust and ownership.
And we also talked about AI and crypto enabling new forms of bottom-up governance, like DAOs using tools like GovMind or Decide AI for more rational, transparent decision-making.
The decentralized intelligent coordination.
So here's the question that really sits at the crossroads of everything we discussed. What happens when these two movements start to genuinely integrate? What happens when the digitized, sovereign, top-down structure of a nation begins to interface directly with the autonomous, AI-guided, bottom-up governance of a sophisticated DAO? What does that future look like?